I have a Sony BDPS300 Blu-ray player up on the workbench now. This one here was given to me a while back. Finally getting a chance to look at it. It doesn't work, so let's see what's wrong with it. Here's an old Blu-ray player. This is a really old one. It's a Sony BDPS300. Have no idea whether this one works or what the story is on it. It was given to me. Let's see if it works, and if not, can we make it work? Before even plugging it in, I'm going to pop the top off so we can take a look at the electronics inside this old beast, because it'll be full of electronics, I'm sure. So this old unit has a separate drive. Got 3 boards on here. Power supply board, video board, and audio decoder board. If you look on the back, you'll see I've got discrete 5.1 channel outputs, as well as the analog output, digital output, component output, S-video output, composite video output, and HDMI. So this will feed any type of TV, including standard definition sets. And it uses a computer type drive. Looks like, actually this looks like it's a SCSI drive that's in here, doesn't it? There's the power connector. That looks to be a SCSI input. I don't know if it's an IDE or SCSI. It looks like it could be SCSI. What's it say on here for the drive? It might be IDE. 2007 is when this one's from. So this is an early Blu-ray player. I'm going to connect this both to my standard 480p plasma, and I'm also going to connect it to a 720 plasma HDMI. So I'm using the AV cable for the regular output, and I'm going to use HDMI for the other and see if it'll drive both of them at the same time. So first things first, I'll turn on the power. I just noticed something on the front here. It says drive error. So I guess maybe that's why this unit was thrown out. I've got my Blu-ray display on the screen, so everything looks like it's booting up, but the drive isn't working. In fact, the unit shut off. Turn it back on. Yeah, it's not opening and not doing anything. So I guess we need to first of all just start checking to see if there's any voltages that are missing coming off the power supply. That's the first place to look, as we'll look for our voltages. Fortunately, they are all listed right down here on the board. So this drive plugs in separately. Let's just see where the drive power is coming from. So this is the drive here, and we can see that the drive is plugged in right there. I wonder if the plug is any good or it's a problem on the power supply. And the power, it's got 12 volts and 5 volt supplies listed. So we'll just ground the meter and we'll see whether we've got our power supply. We have 12 volts, okay. Ground, and we do not have, I got 1.4 volts on the 5 volt rail. Okay, something on the board is probably shot. It could be a fuse. There's fuses on here. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that these ones here are probably the ones relating to the motor. Let's just see if there's a 5 volts somewhere else here. There's a 12 volt supply here, which is there. There's a 5 volt supply over here, which is 5 volts. There's a 3.3 supply down here, 3 volts. Another 3 volt supply there. That one's working. Over here we've got some more 12 volt and 3 volt supplies. But I would imagine that if this one's okay and this one's dead, the problem's in this area here. So let's just see what we've got on these fuses here. That fuse has got nothing on it. There's nothing on that one. Oh, unit turned itself off. Let's try that again. We have 12 volts on this one, 12 volts on this one, 5 volts. Okay, we have 5 volts there. 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 12 volts on that jumper. 12 volts, 5 volts, 3 volts. These are jumpers jumping power in. And this one here has got 1.4. 1.4. I wonder if those are connected together. We'll just unplug the power. That's connected together, and this is really close to this. That fuse is okay. I wonder if there's a problem on the board here. I'm just going to pull the board out, and we'll see. Maybe we've got a broken connection down here on the board. Wouldn't that be something, if that's all it is? Crazy Amazon drivers drive like maniacs. That backup alarm sounds pretty sick. This is the connection right here. I'm just going to resolder that on this jumper here, just see whether that does anything. The connection looks kind of a bit, well, it's lead-free solder garbage, right? So we'll just also redo this pin here because this connector doesn't look too swift. So this is the connector feeding to the drive. This is the one that had no power on it. So I just resoldered this jumper, and it does go straight to that fuse there. The other side of it comes up to this regulator up here. I don't think the problem was there though, because we had power on one side of on the fuse itself. There was 5 volts. There was just no 5 volts down here. Could have been this connection right there, which I just flowed over. Lead-free solder. You just hate this crap. Okay, I'll throw some screws in it. We'll plug it in again and see whether I still get the drive error that I was getting on it on the front here. Now remember the Blu-ray player I had last week that had Netflix and everything on it that I sent back because Netflix wasn't working. How simple it was compared to this. Like this is just full. Very little empty space in this, a little bit of empty space here, but other than that, this one's a full house. Alright, power this one up. And we'll see whether I get that display, that drive error on here. Let's check our voltages too, see whether the voltages have come back. See whether I've got my 5 volts now to the drive. I have 5 volts. So obviously the connection in here was, because I had nothing there, you see. I got 5 volts there now, and I had 5 volts on the fuse, so obviously it was either on the fuse itself or on one leg of this side probably, because there was a solid jumper. It was just a piece of trace that went from here to a coil, which looks like they've removed it from the unit itself. It says power on now on the display instead of drive error. So, let's see whether this thing works. Let's see what type of discs it supports, what it doesn't support, and we'll try everything on it and see whether it works. So I'm just going to put a audio CDR on. I've got my remote control from my other machine here. So we'll see whether it plays audio CDs. I'll try everything on this. I'm going to try. This is a CDR. We'll see whether it supports CDR. We'll try CDRW. I'll try some DVD media. I'll try AVC HD. And it looks like it's going to play. And there it is, it's playing. Next track. Next we'll try an audio format CD recorded on a CDRW disc and see if it plays that. One thing to note, these early Blu-ray drives were as slow as molasses in January. It's showing it as a CD, and it does play. One nice thing about these is there's buttons on the front, so you can select your track. So it plays CDRW. Next we'll try an MP3 disc and see whether it will support MP3 format. You would think that it would, because it is 2007 and most Blu-ray players most DVD players at that point in time did support MP3, but this might not. Cannot play this disc, so it does not support MP3. This is a DVD, obviously, you can see it right there. And when DVDs first came out, it was quite common for them to release both the standard and the widescreen version on the same disc. So you paid more, obviously, because you were getting 2 movies. This was the way that Hollywood could screw you another couple dollars on the price of a movie, because they'd say, well, you get 2 copies of it. You got one for standard TVs and you got one for widescreen. I'll put the widescreen version on and see if it plays this. It should play this no problem, unless there's a problem with the drive. But we'll see what happens here. What? Cannot play this disc. Okay, I guess this does have a problem. This was a standard commercially made stamped DVD that it just refused to play. We'll try the other side, see whether it plays the other side, just in case the disc itself is out of spec on one side. But looks like this may have more problems than the drive not opening, which is good. That means we have an excuse to take the drive apart and see why it's not playing. Still waiting, but I have a sneaking suspicion we're going to get that message as well, that it cannot play the disc. And there we go. So it's not reading stamped DVDs. So I imagine it probably is not going to read a DVD-R either, but we'll try a DVD plus RW disc. This is a disc that I recorded in that little camera, and it's in AVC HD mode. And this is supposed to support AVC HD. And it's still sitting there not doing anything. And it says cannot play this disc, so which I kind of figured it would be that case, because this little disc also uses the red laser, so maybe the red laser has an issue. We'll try the blue laser next. I've got a couple of discs that we can try for the blue laser. I have a stamped disc, I have a DVD BDR, and I have a BDRE. We'll first try the stamped disc. I'll see if it will play the intro to this movie. Blu-ray BD-ROM. This is just the preview, so I should be able to get away with showing this. And if not, it'll have to get cut out. Now you're just looking at it on standard definition there. The other monitor I've got here is HD, so flip over to it. So here's the HD monitor, which looks, of course, a little bit better than the standard definition one. Complete with my tool bag sitting over top of it here in the way. But anyway, it's playing. It's playing the Blu-ray disc. Okay. Next, I'll try BDR. So this is one that I recorded. This has just got some stuff off of YouTube. It's on a BDR disc. We'll try that next. Things are looking promising. It says BDR-RE on the display on the front. Therefore, it should read the disc. It's telling me it's a BD-R or /RE. And it is. So it plays a Blu-ray BDR disc. This time I have a verbatim BDRE. This is a rewritable 25 gigabyte disc, formatted in Blu-ray format. We'll see if it's able to play this one. It should play this one. So the fault with this unit here appears to just be the red laser. So we'll pull the drive apart once I test this. If it works, we'll pull the drive apart and see whether the drive itself it's obviously a problem in the drive. It won't be a problem somewhere else in the player. It will be an issue with the drive itself. And it is playing it. This is one of my videos. When I went and did a video about 14 years ago, Vancouver to Hyder, Alaska in 30 minutes. This was actually shot on the was the HDR FX1, which, if you know how big that camera is, it's big. It was mounted on a tripod where the passenger seat is and weighted down with sandbags so that it wouldn't move. So obviously there was no passenger on this trip. It was just the camera was riding shotgun. everything was recorded onto tape, obviously. It's kind of like a snapshot in what the highways looked like. This was, I think this was 2006 when I did this. So 17 years ago. Anyway, it's playing this disc flawlessly as well. So we know there's not an issue playing Blu-ray discs. It just is not playing anything on DVD media. And there's a good chance that that's why the red laser isn't any good, because the person that gave me this unit probably played mostly DVDs, right? They probably ran DVDs constantly on this thing. And then the DVD laser failed. And they hadn't run a lot of Blu-ray discs, because a lot of people did just that. They got a Blu-ray player and they had a library of DVDs, or they were still renting DVDs, and for the most part they were used a lot in DVD mode and very little in Blu-ray mode, because not a lot of people had Blu-ray discs. Blu-ray never really caught on as a rental format, so when people were still renting DVDs, they were renting regular DVDs. So this drive probably had most of its life used up playing DVDs, and that's why it's not playing them. But we're going to pull the drive apart and see if we can make it play DVDs. So let's take that apart. Now that I know that this works, we know what it does and what it doesn't do. The drive appears to be just held in place with 4 screws, or at least the bracket for the drive. As I say, this just looks like a regular computer drive. I remove the that comes off, otherwise I'll never be able to remove the drive. Unplug this from the board, I guess. One of these is going to come undone. That should just actually lift up. What's holding it up here? Oh, you gotta be kidding. They got 2 more screws in the front. I gotta pull the front panel off because there's 2 more screws that attach this in the front. And I wanted to make sure that people weren't getting their fingers in here too easy, I guess. So I'll just lift this up. Two more screws right there. It's starting to look more and more like a CD-ROM now, doesn't it? Or a DVD or Blu-ray ROM. BD-ROM. Now it should lift up and out, which it does. Just like that, and we've got our standard connector on the back and connector into the board. Got a couple rails to come off the side. They wanted to keep people out of these drives, didn't they? Got a heat sink for the chip. A couple of them. The drive must get pretty warm when it's running. I was hoping I was going to be able to fire this thing up with the drive open. I might be able to. I may have to reattach the bottom cover. Probably will have to reattach the bottom cover just so that I can get those heat sinks connected. Oh, you know what? It's this tape is sticking is what it is. There we go. Okay, so now we're still not into the drive. There's still another cover here. What the heck was that screw for in the top? Oh, that screwed down into the plastic here. Okay. We're still not into the drive. Unbelievable. Like, how much protection of this thing does this thing need? And there's more screws to get into where the optics are on the front here. So we'll pull out some more screws. Of course, you saw the latest one that I just took apart, right? There was nothing to it. Now you know why these things sold for as much as they did when they were new. These were expensive, these machines. Like this was probably $1,500. And I'm not exaggerating. $12.99 maybe. But that's why when I first got my Blu-ray player, I bought a PlayStation 3, which was like $700 because it was cheaper to buy a PlayStation 3 to get a Blu-ray drive than it was to buy a Blu-ray player. Quite a bit cheaper. Oh, interesting. So this only has a single lens. I was expecting it to be two lenses on this thing, but there's only a single lens. So I should be able to power this thing up and slap a disc in here and make it play, or at least attempt to play. Cool, let's hook it up. Okay, the unit's going to power up. We'll see anything. We'll see any laser action happening here in a moment. Get my screws out of the way so I don't end up with them all over the place. Well, first of all, see what it does when I try to load a disc. The blue laser comes on, and that's all I see is the blue laser. I don't know if you guys can spot that or not on camera, but the blue laser did kick in there momentarily. Blue laser is on. I'll put a DVD in. So here's my little disc. If you see any attempt, I don't see any red laser or anything. Oh, it's spinning. It's spinning up. But I don't see the red laser. Is it fired the infrared laser in? And that's probably the problem. The red laser is not coming on. It's turning on the blue turning on the blue laser, detecting there's a disc there, and when it tries to switch to the red's not working. So then it's going back and maybe checking with the infrared laser and seeing some reflectivity, but it's not able to read the disc. Actually, the red laser is coming on. It's a very weak watch when I remove the disc. Well, you're not even going to see it now, I bet. But and my disc flies onto the floor. I saw the red laser on there for a second and it was really, really weak. Try to catch it again on camera. What the heck laser's on? There, you can see the red laser is on there. Now the red laser is on. I saw it bright that time. The first time I didn't see it bright. Normally you can see the laser shining through the disc. Okay, now we can see the disc. We can see the laser. I saw it there for a second. But now we're not seeing the red laser again. What's showing up in infrared? You can see the infrared laser. It's running the infrared laser. Either that or it's running the blue laser, one of the two. But I see nothing shining through the disc. If I just eject the disc momentarily and then reload it. There, blue laser came on, now the red came on, you see? You saw that. And now it's gone to the infrared, so it's obviously not able to focus. It's thinking this is the CD. Because right now that infrared laser is on. You can see it, bright as anything. But no red laser. So at this point I don't know whether it's a failure of software or just the drive itself is screwed. Probably the drive itself, firmware on the drive. It's misidentifying the disc. Or it could be the laser, I guess. It very likely is the laser. It's just not reading. So the blue laser comes on initially. If we stop it, eject the disc. Got that on camera. Holy crap. My son just came in and I said, here, try this. You should never try anything that my son says to try. He says, try this. I found a new flavor of Doritos. So he hands me one. It's the most disgusting thing I've ever tasted in my life. I'll leave it at that. As you can see, this laser is it's a good sized laser. Look at all the pieces to this laser. I mean, this is amazing compared to when we looked at the newer ones. It's got 3 discrete lasers in here that all focus on the lens. So it could be a laser failure. It could be the lens is clouded, or one of the lenses is clouded. I mean, that's very possible. I think all the readings come out from the same. Probably all come out from the same pickup. Might have separate pickups for them as well. But I'm thinking it's got to be the laser. It's got to be the laser that's at fault on this. It just has to be the laser. Because blue laser, red laser, and now it goes into infrared. So it's either the red laser is no good or the readout that reads the red laser is bad. But it's something on the drive for sure that's FUBAR. Speaking of FUBAR, have you seen the new series that Arnold Schwarzenegger is in called FUBAR on Netflix? It basically, if you haven't seen it, it's a parody on the movie True Lies. He plays a CIA agent, kind of like he did in True Lies, but it's a satire on True Lies, and it's hilarious. 8 parts to it. If you haven't seen it, it's worth a laugh, because there are some cameos in there from other actors that were in True Lies that have little bit parts in the series. Anyway, I think this thing is just shot. It'll do fine for playing back Blu-ray discs and CDs, but as a DVD player, this thing is done. It goes through the motions. Starts out with the blue laser, looking for a disc. If it doesn't see a disc, then it switches over to the other formats. If I put my Blu-ray disc, I'll put my BDRE disc in, just so we can watch it spinning, because everybody likes to see discs spinning in drives, right? I don't know if you'll see this or not, because the discs themselves are pretty opaque. The Blu-ray media. Might see it if I put it in night shot, or if I turn on all the lights, we might see it. But there's night shot. There, we can see the blue spot. Camera's having a hard time staying in focus on this. Anyway, there it is. There it is playing. And you can see that little blue spot there. I don't even see it to the eye. I can't see it, not with the lights on. If I turned out all the lights, I might be able to see it, but it's not very bright. Anyway, that's that. And yes, I'm aware that there's some surface mounted caps down here on the board. I'm waiting for someone to comment that might be the problem. I seriously doubt that would be the problem. Only because it's only affecting the DVD playback. It doesn't affect CD and it doesn't affect Blu-ray. I'm pretty sure, without doing any more extensive tests, which I don't have the ability to do as I don't have the test gear, but I think it's a pretty safe guess that the problem is on the optical pickup, just from the way that these operate. They search with the blue laser first, looking for any type of media, and the reason they would do that is because only the blue laser would be able to focus on a Blu-ray disc. The track pitch is too great on a DVD and a CD for it to even focus. It would get reflection, however, right? If you put a DVD in, or you put a CD in, the blue laser would reflect, but it wouldn't be able to read it. So they start out in blue. So if it detects something, it then spins to see if it can read. If it can't read, then it switches to the red laser to see whether the red laser can read the data on the DVD. If the red laser can't read anything that's on the DVD, then it goes to the infrared, which is the largest spot size for the largest track of pits and lands on a CD, because the actual spiral groove, and it's not so much a groove like as in a groove that a needle is in, it's a spiral track, but the track is much closer together on a Blu-ray than it is on a DVD, and the DVD is much closer together than it is on a CD, and it requires a different spot size. The blue laser is a much finer spot to focus on that smaller track pitch. So it starts out with the blue laser, then it goes to the red laser, and then from the red laser it goes to the infrared. Because if it started out, say, with the red laser, and it was a Blu-ray disc, you would see a reflection, but it wouldn't be able to focus. And then, okay, what way is it going to go? Is it going to go down to CD, or is it going to go back to blue? Since it's a Blu-ray drive, they default to the Blu-ray media first, and then to DVD, and then to CD. And this drive is toast, so I'm going to throw this thing back together, and I guess I'll just give this one away. I'll put it up on Marketplace. Blu-ray drive does not play DVDs, plays Blu-rays and CDs fine. Give it away, because I don't have much use for it. I'm not going to fix it. Not going to put a new laser in it. It's not worth anything. So, but it is a pretty screwcum player. Look at this. It's even got a fan in the back. I just noticed that. It has a fan back here that would kick in when you're playing a movie or something, and it starts to get hot. It would start that fan up, because the fan's not running now. I guess it's probably got a temperature sensor somewhere in here that detects when it gets up to a certain temperature, and that turns on the fan. Turns the fan off when you're not using it so that you don't hear the sound of a fan running. 30th of October 2007 is when this one was built. There's a date right back here. Anyway, wasted enough time on this. I'm just going to throw it together and get rid of it.